the perfect bolognese sauce. It's so simple, but I'm gonna give you a couple of tips that when you make bolognese, if you get it this good, it's really unbelievable. Let me just tell you really quickly a couple of things that you need to do. You need to establish what's called a fond. Now, I'm gonna explain that to you in just a little bit, but what you wanna do is start off with your vegetables, take them out of the pan, and then put your meat back in. So you don't cook it all at once. You actually do have to start off with your veggies, get them out, and then get the meat in to create the fond. Now, the fond is actually the color that you see on the bottom of the pan. Some people get stressed out about it and try and scrape it off, but don't worry, it's a good thing. Let me show you how to do it. All right, you start off with just a little bit of oil and your vegetables. So I've got onions, nice and hot, you see. Hear that sizzle? Then you move those around and you're gonna see a little bit of color start to develop on the bottom of the pan. That's what is your fond. It's actually a French verb that means to establish or to sort of build, which is exactly what we're gonna do here. Then a little bit of garlic. You give your onions a little head start because they take a little longer to cook. Then you pop in your garlic. Now, to get this fond, what you need to do is to use either a cast iron pan like this or stainless steel would also work. Don't use non-stick because the non-stick is going to stop that flavour from sticking to the bottom of the pan. Get the rest of your veggies, and that doesn't matter if it's carrots or celery or fennel, zucchini, there's a million different things you can put, but you put that in last. Work that around together as well. And you can see the bottom of this pan's really starting to get quite dark now, which is great. You give your veggies just another minute, and then we're going to take them out and then reintroduce them to the bolognese later on. So you go ahead, you remove most of those vegetables. It doesn't matter if a couple stick in there. Place your pan back on the heat, and you can already see this colour that we've started to develop in the bottom of the pan. Now, that is flavour, which is a great thing. We're about to add our meat in here, and we're going to continue to develop that flavour. So a little bit more oil. Take your meat and break up that mincemeat. Now, another trick when it comes to actually getting the colour on the mincemeat is you have to have the pan really hot. The reason is when you put the cold meat into a hot pan, what happens? The cold meat makes the pan cooler. So you need to have it hotter than you would imagine you need it to in order to establish this fond that you can see here, that if I scrape away at it, you'll see that some of that stuff will start to lift up, which is awesome. Okay, so you see the bottom of the pan here? Can you see the colour there? See how it's got this brown sort of, it almost looks like it's burnt. And a lot of people would think, uh-oh, I've done the wrong thing here, I've burnt my sauce. But that's not the case. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lift all of that off by using a liquid. Now you can use red wine, you could use white wine, you could even use a little balsamic vinegar, and you're gonna get all of that flavour back off the bottom of the pan and into the dish that you're making. Now, bolognese sauce comes from the great city, Bologna, in Italy, and originally, there was no tomatoes used in this sauce at all. It was a meat ragu sauce, and it was made with a little bit of red wine and just big chunks of meat that was sort of ground down and cooked together. They used veal, they used pork, and they used beef. More recently, we've started using a lot more tomato in this sauce, and I love the inclusion of tomato. So it's a really adaptable sauce. You can use mushrooms, you can use a little bit of balsamic to give it a little bit more sweetness. Wine, of course, is a great way to reduce. You'll see all of our meat now has turned brown, and you'll see that fond on the bottom of the pan. If I scrape away at it, it starts to lift. But don't worry, you don't have to scrape. All you do is you get yourself some wine or some liquid of any type. You deglaze. And all of that colour and flavour is going to lift up off the pan, and that is how you end up with this beautiful bolognese sauce. Let me show you. So you give it a good old scrape while you're reducing some of that liquid that you just poured in. And now, if you look around here, I can move all the meat down, and nearly all of that fond has been lifted and put back into the sauce, which of course is the flavour and the colour of the sauce. Once you reduce that liquid back down, then you can re-add your vegetables, you can add some seasoning, you can add some tomatoes, and you're gonna end up with the most unbelievable fettuccine bolognese that you've ever had. Enjoy.